the birthplace, the Bohemian Revolution. From Cowork 591 Studios. We are the Bohemian Reformation, and this is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network with producer Blake Tempus. I am Jim Gillespie, and this is the Jesup News for September 9th, 2024. Dale is on a fundraising assignment in an East Bloc country. He's looking for former Soviet munitions for the Steve Brown Arts Center to sell. He'll be back next week. We are proud to be sponsored by Mickey D's Pizza and Lobster. We are headed toward our 100th show. The 100th show will be, imagine this, on Halloween week. So I'm already thinking of my Halloween costume for that show. I'm sure Dale will come with a surprise as well, and we are arranging guests from earlier shows to tell stories and relive a few events, hopefully, and good Lord willing, and the help of our esteemed producer, Blake Tempus. We want to do that show live and also put it on our network, so that will come out the first week of November, and we'll tape that, I believe, October 30th, so that'll be live on YouTube, correct? On YouTube on October 30th at 5 o'clock. So from 5 till probably 7, I would guess it's going to be somewhere between an hour and 2 hours long. So we look forward to that. Tonight, though, we take a deep dive into Caitlin Clark's career. We look at the Jesup News. We make some football predictions. We talk about an event at the Buchanan County Senior Center that's coming up. We look at the best-kept secrets in the world. And we have the weekly update of the Steve Brown Arts Center. Remember, the Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have the opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of those around them. It will be offering community programming starting in Jesup, Iowa, before expanding to neighboring communities. The long-range vision is to house a rural artist residency program for professional and emerging artists in all areas of the arts and the humanities. Artists will be offered accommodations and studio space in exchange for a contribution of labor and maintenance of the buildings and the grounds. We're so happy we are in the middle of our first artist in residence, Tim Kemmerer. Tim has done an incredible job for us. He's been at a number of events, and this week was a major event at Independence Farmers Market where he painted there on the river, and he sold that piece. Tim is always available on TK Art on Facebook. You can see his art there. Also, he will be at the Buchanan County Senior Center September 18th. It's a Wednesday between 11 and 1:30. The Senior Center is having a free will donations of hamburgers and steak sandwiches. So stop by for that. We are so pleased with how things have went with Tim, our first artist in residence, and we can't thank him enough. So we also show his art at Emily's Coffee. As I said, we are proud to be sponsored by Mickey D's Pizza and Lobster, a local food truck here in Jesup, ran by Mike Farrell. Mike has been on the show twice. I'm sure he may be a guest that night we go live Halloween week if he is in town and not traveling for business. First, we want to talk about Caitlin Clark. A lot of what I'm going to give you tonight is from the Pablo Torre Finds Out. It's from an article written by Wright Thompson of ESPN and the show Dan Lebatard and Stugatz of the DraftKings Network. As a basketball coach, I saw thousands of games, and a lot of people will say there's no way that he has seen thousands of games. I've been coaching basketball since I was probably about 20, and I'm in my mid-60s now. I'm 63 years old now. I coached for over 30 years. In the wintertime, I go to a lot of basketball games. I watch a ton on television. But when I was coaching, I saw 100 every year. So that would be 3,000 in itself. And so I saw a lot of players. One regret I didn't see is I didn't see Caitlin Clark in high school. And show guest Mike Sorensen told me a lot about Caitlin Clark. He saw her a number of times. Mike got her autograph in high school and has multiple autographs of Caitlin Clark. If you remember, Mike is the autograph collector. He said she was incredible. But I talked to a lot of coaches. I've kept my network open with coaches, and they talked about her attitude in high school was questionable. As I was preparing for this article, I learned the sophomore or junior year in high school, Caitlin was given an assignment to do on empathy. And she struggled to know what empathy was. And that's not making fun of her. She didn't know what empathy was. And so it was difficult for her to write that article and be empathetic. And so she was extremely hard on her teammates and others that made mistakes while she was playing. And when she went to the University of Iowa, she went with that lack of empathy. And her high school coach tried to instill it in her. Like many of us, you can try to teach people things, and it doesn't always take. Because of that, when she went to Iowa, she lacked empathy. And the Iowa coaches knew that when she came in. And there is talk that because in high school, she had displays of emotion that she wasn't recruited hard by the elite schools like Connecticut and Tennessee. Because she was a pouter, she yelled at her teammates when they wouldn't catch a pass, when she would give them a great pass and it would go off their hands or worse, off their heads. Coach Bluter at Iowa, when she came in, and like most college coaches, Bluter taped their practice. High school coaches tape their games, but it's tough to tape your practices and find time to watch your practices when you're teaching and working a full-time job. Big Ten teams like Iowa can do that. And Bluter taped practices, and she would show Caitlin reactions to her teammates, her throwing up her arms, yelling at her teammates, her swearing at her teammates. They worked at her being empathetic. They would ask, well, how would an average person on the street react if you did this to them? And so it took a while, and she still does it. If you watch Indiana, and they're playing right now as we speak, actually, if you watch Indiana, she has public displays of emotion. And that's one of the reasons, I truly believe this, one of the reasons that early on Clark didn't get along very well with her Indiana teammates is that she was pretty hard on them. And you have to remember that people like Kelsey Mitchell and Aaliyah Boston are two of the most competitive humans in the world. I believe Mitchell was the second round, or the second pick in the WNBA draft, and Aaliyah Boston was the first pick in the WNBA draft. And so they are competitive humans. But Clark brought that attitude in. I'm sure it was hard for them to like her because they hadn't experienced her at Iowa and seen that at Iowa. So Iowa, to Bluter's credit, Jan Jensen's and Jennifer Fitzgerald's credit, they brought in a sports psychiatrist and rather unique question was asked. Not only your name, your age, things like that, your family members, but they asked, "What do you fear?" to the teammates, and it got to Clark, and Clark said, and she wasn't bragging as she said this, but Clark said, "I'm not afraid of anything. I don't get nervous." That's a special thing, people, for an athlete to say. Some of the greatest athletes that ever played the game get nervous on the free throw line or late in the game or whatever. Clark claimed nothing makes her nervous, that she doesn't have anxiety. And after that meeting with that psychiatrist, and with the help of good friend Kate Martin that now plays out in Las Vegas, she said in a meeting, heavy is the crown. When they talked about, well, everyone said they'd like to be Caitlin. Well, everyone can't be Caitlin. So Caitlin went to the WNBA, and she was extremely popular. Some people said she was overhyped. Some people said she was underrated. Then, to make matters worse, the culture wars jumped on her. It became Caitlin Clark, the white Iowa Midwestern girl, versus the woman from LSU, it's Asia Wilson. I may be wrong here. That's not her name. The name slips my mind here. Excuse me. Here's the thing. And the culture wars got worse and worse and still getting bad. But Clark, to her credit, never engages in those culture wars. She is remarkable when it comes to speaking in the press. When she was offered, or when she was asked, well, how do you handle not being chosen for the Olympics? She said, well, I'm probably not ready. Hopefully in 4 years I'll be ready, to her credit. But her fans, and this is where the culture wars have started. And this is where I wasn't a Caitlin Clark fan for a long time because of her fans. People came out of nowhere that didn't know basketball, didn't understand basketball, didn't understand rivalries, etc. They wanted to attack the people that played against Caitlin Clark. Well, if you watch Caitlin Clark, one of the most competitive humans in the world, she is going to irritate a lot of people. And she did during her career at Iowa, and she did that early on in her career in the WNBA in the first part of the season. There's a reason those professional women played so hard against her. The Fever started out 1-8. And they weren't going to let this college girl come in and embarrass. A couple of things that Caitlin Clark was lucky about. She had a wonderful coach, Lisa Bluter, that did for her what Phil Jackson did for Michael Jordan. She understood she had a generational talent, and she worked real hard to prepare her for that. Now, second, in that when she was at Iowa, Clark had a special group of women around her. You look at, and a lot of that is credit to the coaching staff for who they bring in to play for them. People like Goodman from Cresco and Kate Martin and the Stokey girl from down in Cedar Rapids. They are respectful women. They are hard-working women. They are fun-loving women that play hard and are competitive human beings. And finally, Clark had a tribe around her, a tribe that couldn't be offended by the way that she acted. And, that for a long time, those actions bothered me. I saw powder, but she's generational. She is a person that is changed basketball, that has brought thousands of young men and women. And that's young men and women. A woman has done this. I'm sitting here at 6:15 on a Wednesday doing the show, disappointed that I'm missing watching Caitlin Clark. And there's a reason, and I've watched thousands of basketball games. But God, I love watching her play. It's truly amazing. After they lost down in Dallas in that first Final Four, Clark went back to the hotel. She was still in her uniform, and she met her dad and lost it. Well, then the team went to a sort of a out-of-the-way bar in Dallas. I talked to the neighbor. The neighbor drove through Dallas. You know, Jesup is 1 square mile across. Dallas is 70 miles across, 70 square miles. And they went to a hideaway bar in Dallas, and a booster was at this bar, an Iowa booster was at this bar. And Clark was asked by this booster, could he buy her a drink? And he said, she said, we'll take 22 shots. That was the night they lost to LSU. And the rivalry started between her and the woman in Chicago, Angel Reese. Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson coming out of college in 1978. It's a rivalry that has already started. First, they played 2 games in college that were big deal games. Reese got the first one, and then Clark in the championship game of the Final Fours, and then Clark got the second one in the grade 8 game the following year. Everybody wants to say that they hate each other. If you look at Magic and Larry Bird, they became great friends, played on the Dream Team in the Olympics back in 88. And Reese and Clark will end up good friends because of this. But they're not hated enemies, and they don't say bad things about each other. Their fans do. And that's where this has got out of control. The fans of Angel Reese attack the fans of Caitlin Clark, and vice versa. Maybe, and you attach this Caitlin Clark, and there's one other person that went through this. You go back to Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant always said the right thing, but Kobe's fans were evil, attacked a lot of people. But here's the problem with Caitlin Clark, or for Caitlin Clark and for Angel Reese, is we have double standards in our country. We have for women compared to men. You know, everybody wants to say, well, the women of the WNBA hate Caitlin Clark because she's better than them, or they're catty. When Larry Bird and Magic Johnson came out of college, the guys in the WNBA hated them as bad or played as hard against them as the women play against Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. But the difference is they're women. In our country, there's a double standard. It's like the man that has a daughter and a son. When his son goes out on a date, the father says, "That's my boy." When the daughter goes out on a date, father says, "You touch my daughter and I'll kill you." You know, we have double standards in our country. But if you watch closely, and it's starting to happen in Indiana, teammates learn to love Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Mitchell, you look at the numbers that she started to have since the Olympic break, and she's averaging over 22 points a game now. And she loves the speed that Caitlin plays at. Alyssa Boston was catching that fever before the Olympics got started. They played in the All-Star game together. Teammates learn to love her. This is the thing that I love about Caitlin Clark, and I can learn to accept her displays of emotion. She's getting better at that. But this is the thing that I truly love about Caitlin Clark. It's not about how many championships she wants to win or how many MVPs she wants to win. If she wins Rookie of the Year, and it's Wright Thompson that noticed this. He said, Caitlin Clark simply wants to be the best player of all time. And that's the thing that has finally drawn me to to Caitlin Clark. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. I'm Jim Gillespie with producer Blake Tempus. And a little bit of Jesup news. September is Update Your Library Card Month. Also, the city has settled the garbage pickup issue here, and they haven't made any changes. And that's what Mayor even said when he was on the air with us last month, to his credit. I think Mayor even does a nice job for our community. The show lost and a great fan. The school of Jesup lost a great fan. Our friend Neva Erpelding passed away recently. She was 88. Our condolences go out to her husband Wendell and her children and grandchildren. We know how special that Neva was. Our condolences. We have some football predictions from this weekend. I know this is this week, so that this will be out Monday, the week or the 2 days after these games were played. So check me. Please check me. You folks that listen out in western Iowa, please, if I'm wrong, let Dale know, and he will tell me that I was wrong. But first, the Iowa State game is this week. It's at 2:30 at Kinnick in Iowa City. Iowa is around a 2.5-point favorite, 3-point favorite, depends on the website that you look at. The last time that the game was played at Kinnick, Iowa State beat Iowa. So although Iowa defeated Iowa State last year, and Iowa State is a little beat up right now. They're a little short athlete-wise because of injuries. So I'm predicting take the points, and even with the points of a 2.5-point spread, Iowa will still win 20-17. Another game, Georgia Tech has started out 2-0 and beaten number 10 team in the nation, Florida State Seminoles. They are a 2.5-point favorite over Syracuse, and they will beat Syracuse this Saturday. That's 11 o'clock game. Take Georgia Tech and give the points at 2.5 points. The third and final game I want to talk about is taking place down in Austin in the middle of the heat. The Michigan Wolverines play the Texas Longhorns, both two of the Final Four teams of last year's playoffs. Michigan is a 4-point underdog, and that's 11 o'clock game, I believe, on Fox Sports this week. I say take the Michigan Wolverines, and they may lose the game, but they will cover the spread. 4-point spread. Wolverines may lose the game, but they'll cover the spread. So those are your picks, your trifecta for the week. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. I'm Jim Gillespie with producer Blake Tempus. We have an upcoming event at the Buchanan County Senior Center. We are excited to be able to show two artists there as the Senior Center is having a hamburger and steak sandwich September 18th from 11 till 1:30. Also during that time, we're going to show pour artists. I mean pour paint, rather unique art. And I was fortunate enough to go to his house last week, and he did 2 paintings when I was there. Just beautiful work. And so we're going to show Garrett's work that day, and also artist in residence Tim Kimmerer will be there. So stop there. Stop at the Buchanan County Senior Center between 11 and 1:30. It's a free will donation. Have a hamburger, a steak sandwich. I believe they'll have 125 steaks for steak sandwiches. Then after that, they're serving hamburgers. So go there early. This is Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. So last week I teased that that I want to talk about the greatest secrets in the world, and we had the wonderful writer on last week. Deanne was remarkable. Look for her work and go to her website, please. Here are the 10 best kept secrets in the world. Number 10, the letters of last resort. When a new prime minister takes over in England, he writes down 4 letters of instructions to the 4 nuclear submarines that the British Navy has in case he is killed in a nuclear attack, and what they're supposed to do. Unless there's a nuclear attack, those letters are never opened. And when a new prime minister comes in, those letters are destroyed, and the prime minister writes 4 new letters. So that's number 10. Number 9, the imperial napkin fold. This is in the Austrian government. When they have a meal, also known as the Habsburg napkin fold, the technique is a guarded state secret, and it's said that only 2 people at a time know how to do it. Then they pass the knowledge on to another high-ranking official upon their deaths. Napkins folded in this manner are never kept in Austrian museums, public interest in their extravagance being so profound. That's number 9. Number 8, the Coca-Cola recipe. I had a Coke recipe, or I had a Coca-Cola yesterday with the traditional recipe. And the Coca-Cola recipe, or Coca-Cola has been around since 1886. Try as desperately as they might, no one has been able to replicate its distinct taste. Blake, can you tell the difference between Pepsi and Coca-Cola? I can.
I don't drink either of them very often.
Right. Right. Coca-Cola by far is better. It's a better taste. The physical recipe then made the rounds between New York City's Guarantee Bank, Atlanta's Trust Company Bank, and finally the world of Coca-Cola, where it resides today and is currently housed in a so-called vault of the secret formula and remains there, a very closely guarded secret. Rather interesting. Number 7, the origins of HIV and AIDS. No one knows exactly. There are theories. HIV is largely linked to the 1980s. It continues to be a problem in 2020s. It was estimated that nearly 40 million people are living with the disease, but regardless its prevalence and very public history, there's still a lot about the retrovirus we don't know. For example, we're unsure where it came from. One theory is that it came from people eating monkey. But that is number 7, the origin of HIV and AIDS. Number 6, the Farmer's Almanac formula. Blake, do you guys have a Farmer's Almanac in your house? We used to get one every year in my house. I think I bought one in the last 30-some years. They have the forecast for the year. They have the winter forecast. Studies have proven roughly 50% rate of accuracy. So you and I could do that, Blake. We could be 50%. You just say it one way, I say it the other, and we're going to be that accurate. Number 5, Genghis Khan's tomb. When Genghis Khan died and they buried him, they then killed the people that buried him. So nobody knows where his tomb is. Somewhere around Birken-Calden Mountain, but research in the area is difficult owing to restrictions by the Mongolian government. Number 4, the lost years of Jesus. There's 17 years from the time that Jesus was 12 till the time he was 29. People don't know what happened to Jesus. And there is a theory that his father was teaching him carpenter trades. But the lost years of Jesus are number 4, the most secret, or the best kept secret. Number 3, the USA's missile submarines. No one knows where they're at. A rare event occurred when 3 of the 4 surfacing at once in response to a Chinese missile test. China realizing that they had 3 nuclear missiles sitting off their coast from the United States. But most of their actions and locations remain a secret. Number 2, the mausoleum of the first Qin emperor, Qin Shi Wang. Forgive me, Dale. I know you're on assignment, but forgive me. His mausoleum, like many mausoleums, is not known, and if it was known, it's probably been robbed, like many mausoleums in China. And number 1, the best kept secret in the world, Area 51. When it comes to highly classified areas, it doesn't get any more famous than Area 51. Found in the Nevada desert, Area 51 is a top secret military facility with ties to cutting-edge technology. The place is so secretive that it wasn't officially unveiled by the CIA until 2013, even though it was very obvious that something was in the desert. Area 51 is officially known as a military training facility and supposedly a testing ground for both experimental aircraft and high-tech weapons. One argument is there are aliens at Area 51. Perhaps we'll never know. This is the C. Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and we're coming to you live, Cowork 591 Studios in beautiful downtown Jesup as the sun starts to set. And remember that we are looking forward to our 100th show on Halloween week. Hopefully we'll go live. Tell your friends. We're going to bring in some old guests and some new guests that week and have a little party that week. Hopefully have a little music too. So please plan on listening, and if you do miss it, it will be on our feed. The C. Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and if you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, go to stevebrownartscenter.org and follow the link. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@stevebrownartscenter.org or call me at 319-290-0241 and leave a message. Hopefully Dale can find his way back from the Eastern Bloc for next week's show. Blake, thank you for everything tonight. I'm Jim Gillespie and producer Blake Tempus. And as always, thanks to Kelly C. Haas and Cowork 591 Studios for allowing us to produce our show here. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your day. And remember, each day is about little victories.